Okay, now let us continue chapter 7 on the book The Foundation of Buddhism, written by Rupert Gethin. I think last week we have a quite comprehensive discussion on the four jhana or dhyana. Okay, and also we also add some extra material just to have some basic ideas, the differences between the description about the jhana in the sutra as well as in the Abhidhamma. But of course, since the author, the Rupert Gethin, many, or you could say based on the early Buddhism, and then that's why the sources are mostly are from the, you could say, the early Buddhism, or even largely included in the Pali language. Okay, now let's, we're still actually under the discussion of the samadhi, or you could say the calm abiding, or the concentration meditation technique, or you say just a system called concentration. And then now we come to the second, I guess he listed out here as another one, which is crucially important, even though somehow I guess somehow a lot of people forget this is actually as a meditation, but rather than they just think it's just kind of a moral ethical code, or the saying, and that's called the Brahma Vihara. Okay, shall we just read that first, the Brahma Vihara? Yeah, on the page 186, and the third paragraph.
One group of ancient meditation practices that the Theravadic meditation manuals accommodate to the scheme of dhyanas, but which it has been suggested were originally conceived of as a path to complete awakening in their own right, are the four immeasurables, or divine abiding. The underlying motivation for the practice of the Buddhist path is generally understood to be the benefit and welfare of both oneself and others. Thus, according to Theravadic Abhidhamma, the wholesome mind always contains the seed of loving kindness. It is this seed that can be taken as a subject of meditation and developed as a divine abiding. Loving kindness is understood as the wish for all beings, oneself and others, to be well and happy. It is likened to the feelings of a mother towards her child. Loving kindness is the basis of the second divine abiding, compassion, which is the wish for the suffering of all beings to cease, and is likened to the feelings of a mother towards her sick child. The third divine abiding is sympathetic joy, the delight in the good fortune of others, and the wish for it to continue. This is likened to the feelings of a mother at her child's success. The final divine abiding is equanimity, the state of calm balance with regard to the sufferings and pleasures of beings. It is likened to the attitude of a mother to a child that is busy with its own affairs, indicating that equanimity should not be misunderstood as mere indifference.
All right, the next one. Yeah.
The four divine abidings are described as being developed by beginning with the wish for one's own well-being and happiness. This feeling is then gradually extended through a dwelling, a town, across a country, to other beings, until the meditator dwells, pervading all directions with a mind that is embodied with loving kindness and free from enmity.
Okay, all right, from enmity. Okay, any comments? And you see, this is very short. But when you do the meditation, even for 1 week, you cannot finish whole process of the what we call the Brahma Vihara. Actually, if you want to practice even more complicated, maybe it takes you 2 or 3 weeks of that meditation too. Anyway, any comment or any questions?
I have a question. It says, according to the Theravada Abhidhamma, the wholesome mind always contains loving kindness, does that mean that quality of loving kindness is always present in wholesome mind? Or in experience, it feels like you have to arise this loving kindness, you know?
Well, actually, I also don't really understand this term. I guess because if you look at the list of the Abhidhamma in the Pali, we do have to say that there are 25 kinds of beautiful minds. And in the 25 kinds of beautiful mind, there's one kind of mind called the mudita, that sympathetic joy. Another kind is called the compassion, the karuna. But it's not mentioned actually the loving kindness. But I think, I'm not sure, maybe there are certain passage goes there. But I mean, for sure it's general understand because when you have a wholesome mind, it means that we have a good mind, you certainly, I mean, if you are not looking at the list by that way, because the list is talking about the jaitasika, I mean, the mind association or my concomitant. Do you know what I'm talking? In Chinese called 心所. So, and it's more called, usually they would translate as the mind association or mind concomitant. But if you are not looking at this regard the list of that, but certainly it's believed that when you're in a wholesome state of mind, it doesn't mean you are that, I guess that's the reason why it might be just not put it as an item, but you understand as a theory or as a kind of phenomenon, maybe you could say, that when you have a wholesome mind, so you certainly there's no difficult for you, or maybe you could say there's no difficult for you to have this, what you call the loving kindness, yeah. But it's always believed, of course, I guess, it does mention in Abhidhamma that when you don't have the anger mind, so you certainly can arise that loving kindness. That certainly have that kind of way of, how to say, when you define the anger and without anger. So maybe that's the way they put it there as a wholesome, because when someone have no anger mind. So, yes.
Question here. In this paragraph, it says there are 4 immeasurables. They start at the second immeasurable being divine abiding of compassion, then the third of sympathetic joy. Final is
Equanimity.
right, equanimity, but what is the first one?
The first one is a loving kindness.
Okay, so loving kindness is just the first one, and then the second one
Is the compassion.
Okay, and it says loving kindness is the basis of the second divine abiding compassion. Okay, so is it like a foundation that's building?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think for the third one, it says sympathetic joy. Is it more like maybe empathetic instead of sympathetic?
Yeah, I guess sometimes that's the reason why some other translate empathetic better than sympathetic, because in English, usually sympathetic carries with you sympathize a person, mean that person is in suffering state, right? I mean, that's how general understand. That's why empathic is more like you just feel how you just
feel the same.
Yeah, feel the same situation. That's the reason why I guess that's later on. But I mean, that's an early time actually. That's the way they translate. But then later on, I guess we use empathetic more than sympathetic. It's just a translation problem. Yeah. And please bear in mind, it's especially when you are the Chinese. So the word the mudita, joy, it's different from the other word joy. Okay. The word, usually when you say, remember in the jhana, there are 2 kind of like similar to the joy. That is, we call the piti and sukha, right? But this is mudita, okay? When you look at the word. So you could translate it as, I'm saying that we can translate, even if you like, you could say, maybe empathic, or without that, you just translate as happiness, right? You're happy for the other, so the happiness. But I just want to ask you to bear in mind, actually, the terms are different, okay? But of course, it means if they put a different term, sometimes you could argue that there's no any different meanings. But certainly, for these few words, definitely it carries different kind of quality of the mind there. Okay. Another thing is also for people who study Chinese, they usually have learn Buddhism from Chinese, because I have encountered a lot of this kind of question. They always take these two terms as one term. There's a 慈悲 嘛. So, but you have to remember, original 慈心 and 悲心 are two different kind of quality of mind. Okay, and that is also, and I mean this word is certain anybody know. Either you are the Buddhist or not Buddhist. In Chinese language is really like a widespread language. But since the language been there, been used as a user, it's been using for a long time, and then they take that as one term, you know. And they cannot differentiate what is meant by 慈 and what is meant by 悲. They thought, but in English it's clear when you say loving kindness and compassion. Not necessarily they definitely understand very well what it is, but at least they know there are two different kind of things, kind of like, right? Yeah. But in Chinese they take that as one. So I mean, when I say Chinese, I mean I'm talking when in the Buddhism, certainly it's a two kind of mental quality. Okay. Even and especially the Bei as well. Another thing is about the word Bei, because last time when I was in Taiwan, then when there were some people who have been Buddhists for 20 or 30 years. I mean, older than me guys, and some other doctors as well. And when I said about the Bei, and they was really surprised that because the word karuna, they take it always mean bei, sorrow. Kind of like you feel sorrow for the other, you feel sorry for the other, kind of thing like that. But then I told them, no, the word sorrow, you feel sorry for the other, even we have different terms. In Pali, it's anukambana, it's not karuna. But of course, and also you could say if the sorrow in terms of sadness, then there's another Balideva, so many other terms for different kind of sadness you feel. But this word is karuna, and certainly the word karuna always have to do, of course there's a lot of etymological explanation, but certainly according to the commentary way of saying that it has to do with the motivation that you have a strong motivation of having sorry for the other. So something like that. Okay. But here, please also understand, we are not saying this in terms of English. Nowadays, you don't, I mean, certain sensitivity in English language as well. So if you say, I feel pity for you, it's also, it carries not necessarily a very good term. Okay. So, all right. Any other, I mean, this is some few things that you need to be aware, especially if you are in Chinese, when you learn Buddhism in Chinese language, that you can easily mistaken that term, the Bei, okay. Of course, the last word also in Chinese, so can be mistaken. So just let me just write down the word upeksha. So, because in Chinese this can be chaga, brahana, and then it could be ubekka, okay, ubekka. So in Chinese, but they can be more than that. But I just say the common trait that always people get confused, because the word chaga, it means what? It means donation. You are donate something. You are your generosity. Brahana means abandon. Because the Chinese can be mean 布施, so it can be a 布施. No. It's the same word.
少了三话。
我少你们两话。
这个是收拾，那个是拾，那个不是舍。不是舍。
我少什么两话？
在一横在一竖，中间那里一横了。
啊！哎，惨了，我都不会写这个。
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So. No, I even confused with the words.
I don't get the joke.
But anyway, that's first meaning. But in Pali or Sanskrit, could be mean donation. But you have to read in the context. But in the Sanskrit or Pali, it's very clear this means donation. And the same term has been translated as could be mean abandon, or you discard something, like you discard your worries, you discard your anxiety and so forth. But also can be now what we said mean this equanimity. So, so you do find, I'm not joking, you do find a lot of people, including some books, surprisingly, they will talk this thing and they explain this as the second one, or something as the first one. So, of course, some people even they might know this trait, but which I only find maybe encounter once. They try to explain these meanings are so powerful because they have three meanings. Because they know in Buddhism, this can be out of the context, depending on the context. So you could understand as mean abandon, can understand as a donation, can understand as equanimity, and they put it nicely, language-wise. Say, you see, because you abandon, you are doing donation, so you have this kind of equanimity, the quality of the abandoning mind. But please, that is a Chinese way of explaining that. But when you really look at the original language, there's nothing to do, completely different thing. Okay. So, and this kind of interesting phenomena happen in Chinese a lot. Okay, a lot. For example, like 烦恼, and one of the old master, I don't want to put the name. And you know the word 烦恼 in Chinese mean pleasure. In Sanskrit, it's definitely the word 烦恼 translated from the pleasure. And there's a lot of proof for it. There certainly is a word pleasure. But he put that as 烦恼. He think that 烦恼 as two terms. But pleasure actually is just one term. It's not like 慈悲is two terms there. And it's a compound of the two terms. But 烦恼 actually is just one term. And somebody want to translate why is 烦 and then 恼. Because you have 烦, so that's why you have 恼. You know? And like that. And this is funny. But that definitely is not the real original language of Buddhist understanding. You know. Okay, all right. Any other comment and questions? Those I think just here is a very short passage. It's always very short passage. But maybe if there's something adding is, according to the path of purification, remember what is a path of purification? We read that last time on the topic of the jhana and dhyana. Based on that the book called, the meditation menu called the path of purification. So actually, according to that, it said this, the Brahma Vihara as a technique, it should be understood as the common technique for all. In other words, mean you might be practiced, there are two techniques which is certainly for the monk as common to all. It means everybody have to practice according to the path of purification. It not necessarily agree with all other menu, but definitely the Qingjin Daolun, the Tapa Purification saying that the two common technique has to the two meditation technique has to common to all. One is the Marana Bhavana, mean the meditation on the death. That you know that one day we will like other people, so we will die. You know, and the other technique is this technique. And he said very clearly, this is called a sadhana technique. Means sadhana means common to all technique. Why is common to all technique? It is because this technique will be certainly is beneficial for your concentration and meditation, and wholesome mind. That's, we don't have to describe that again. But and also it's very important because it's really benefit for the community. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is this practice possible for Vipassana? I know it's commonly for Samadhi.
That's the reason why, according here, so if you look at this, I guess the Chinese translation has something wrong, I guess, I misunderstand this passage. Am I right? Because just now I read the Chinese, I didn't understand the translation. And when I look at it again, hello, someone who are reading the Chinese, in this, just that I will reply to your question. I think the Chinese translation has have a different connotation. Had a different way of take it. Just let me see. I don't know whether it's my Chinese out, but I just read just now. No, not because of the name. It's the. Oh, let me just, if I can find a page. Okay, 222. So in Chinese, they. Yeah, I guess it's not. Maybe true. It's basically I think it's said that it suggests that if this is the practice, if it according to the scheme of the dhyana, it has been suggested that they were originally conceived as a path to complete awakening in their own right. What does it mean?
So it can be for insight meditation.
Well, if you look at the sutta, it looks like the Buddha have a few paragraphs suggesting that by practicing this method, like here to say he has the kind of like they have a different path for the awakening. Mm-hmm. And then certainly it's very clear for the Yogacara Bhumi, I guess. Let me see. Yes, it's in Yogacara Bhumi, the Yiche Siddhi. In the Yogacara Bhumi, certainly it's just said that by you could just using the force of life, the four immeasurable mind and meditation technique to reach to to complete the four foundational mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And actually, I have all this written down in all these sources, And also, certain passage which is very tricky, small items, looks like even in different tradition, like Sarvastivada, like in certain, it did mention also the Buddha mentioned by using this technique you could enter different kind of higher jhana. Remember what we call the formless jhana, and also that actually also I'm not just simply because you practice with the samatha technique, but you are using the vipassana technique also. But
it's rare. Like in normal, I guess many meditation retreats, they don't ever really use this method for vipassana, right? I mean, why is that if it can be used for vipassana?
My understanding is because the text is not mentioned in such a way clearly. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is might be because the teacher had never learned that kind of, or even concept, or even that, especially the method from other teachers. And of course, there are so many other ways to do, and then I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but I certainly, maybe best to say it this way. Even I know many other methods. Some methods, okay, you need to try whether they work. I mean, the way that you know. Say even it's true that you try it work, but you have to be really careful to teach that way because you will get a lot of people against you. They will think that you are trying to say something wrong because especially nowadays, not many people read a lot of things. I have to assure you, not many. They don't like to read. They think that's enough. I don't mean I'm not arguing it's enough or not enough. But but if you are even really into a Buddhist, because that kind of a Buddhist source we have are recognized by old time that a lot, and not just because of modern time people recognize. I don't trust modern time people recognize a thing at all. Even old time you sometimes can be dubious about whether they are correct or not. But at least it's so long history, so it's and also people based on that if they disagree they did write something. They do, some they do actually. But I want to say that might be one of the reasons also. Even like I know a long time ago, and I mean, I said no long time, at least even for the passage, I file a lot of passage, how they should do it. And it's not just directly they put it there, you need to really have a grand research and how they mention this, and also something that this link to other, and you put it together. Even that also, if you talk about it, you might be, I don't know, if people jealous about you, you could be very dangerous also. Anyway, that's different. But anyway, we're learning the Buddhist text now. We're just talking about Buddhism. Even however people want to criticize me, I say I'm talking about a book. We are discuss that. But if you teach some other thing, that people might be questioning you. And this is also one good thing about actually I like have a reading class. It's not necessarily whatever you want to believe, that it just open your horizon, understanding there are so many things can be happen and why and how, and you'll be your own judge, and basically you know how to look at the thing. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah. So even the Chinese or English terms for those for immeasurables might be some difference and misleading. But I mean,
I don't mean the translated. They are not misleading. I just say the interpreter. Yeah.
Okay. But do you think all the description about the mother and the son relationship is exactly what they try to say? By those terms?
I think it's because this description, as far as I know, you don't find in the sutta or in the jin or in the sutta, but you do find in the actually this is a quotation. You could say this is actually a borrow from the part of purification, the Visuddhimagga. So of course, if you want to say that, certainly the first saying that what does it mean by the loving kindness is almost like a mother towards his children. I guess that is a very common definition. You do find a lot that in any other sutta as well, and of course even the later master, either in Chinese or in other language. But as for this four things together, certainly is this kind of description is, I think, is a well described, four kind of quality of mind that people can develop. Or you could say maybe actually this four kind of quality of mind, you do have it in everybody, in the different occasion. But it's all about, this is why all about how you appreciate the Dharma. Let's say you know the importance of the good Dharma, mean the wholesome Dharma. If you have the wholesome Dharma, understand that loving kindness is very good for you, then you have to always keep it. That's the reason why it's not just by keeping it. Keeping it is a kind of, remember, I didn't give it talk here, no. That is about what we call, you become energetic. Energy, there are 37 part of factors of enlightenment. One is called the force driving force. So the good thing you need to keep it, the bad thing you need to kick it away, like that. And the good thing is not there, you need to bring it up. When the bad thing is there, the bad thing is not there yet, but don't bring it up like that. That if you can maintain your mind all the time like that, Anyway, this is must understand these four. This what either you call a Brahmana or called Brahma Vihara. It's called immeasurable or divine abidings. These two, this divine abiding or the a Brahmana or immeasurable mind, actually can be practiced for sure, for the samadhi purpose, for the jhana. Okay. No other question? I'm surprised actually there's some other question there should be. If I were you, I would ask, but if you don't ask, I'm not going to say it, maybe. No question?
Can we ask technical question?
I don't know what kind of technical question you are.
How to practice this?
We did say that already. We did learn that. I mean, I thought you can ask what else, not in the precise way how to practice that.
I must have missed it, so.
Me too.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't here. I don't know.
Why? You have never learned the loving kindness?
I did. That's why I'm asking. But I'm not sure it's the right time that we can talk about it.
No, I mean, what do you mean by that? I don't know what kind of question you want to ask. Just say it first. Let me see what kind. Is it proper to talk now?
So some teachers taught that when you do the loving kindness meditation, and then you have to think of that person, right? And my question is, some teachers ask you to think of that person very clearly, to a degree of very clearly you can see the hair, very, very, very detailed. But some teachers says no. So that's my question. Which
I always believe that when of course I cannot, I don't represent those teachers, and this is just by listening to what you say. I always believe that I also sometimes say the same thing. But that's the reason why when I teach this technique in the classroom, I say it one way, that you should do this, like visualize the person and generate the loving kindness mind, right? But then we do have a lot of Q&A time. And the Q&A, some people told me that they have a difficulty to visualize the person and even to think about the person. And even they question a lot. They have changed a hairstyle. What kind of hairstyle I should think about? Like that, because, I have been during Q&A, I have been met any weird question you could think of, at least to me. And lots of questions, so strange. But anyway, that's fine. I want to say, sometimes I ask them, no, you keep on meditate on that. Some might say, forget about it. Why? I can give you my answer. It's because if they easily to visualize the person already, and some people very easy to remember a person's picture, but they are not clear on it. So I say, keep on. But some people, they told me I have to really difficult to even just focus that person's face and think about the whole pictures. And he couldn't help to wandering around, even start to think about how is it now and all this sort of thing. So, for example, and I would tell them, no, just forget the picture, just think about that. And this is one reason. I don't mean that's the only reason. And the other reason is also has to do, because I guess definitely everything has to do not about right now, it's about afterward. Afterward, or after a certain type of practices, if the person still can remember the picture well, they could just focus on a picture and use that picture as their limiter.
okay.
But if the people are not really remember the picture well, they could actually use the mind as a limiter, not the picture.
Use their mind.
As a limiter.
The feeling of,
Oh,
let's say,
okay.
loving kindness.
Yeah.
Is that what you
Oh,
mean?
okay, got it.
And I prefer the later one than the earliest one.
Yeah.
The reason why, it's because I knew a lot of, including myself. In earlier time, actually, the first I learned is based on the picture. But including me, because if you have, not the teacher wrong, always is, because sometimes we don't have time to explain so much. And it's based on the audience also. The practitioner, question and so forth, blah, 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 many, many reasons. And, but it's easier, it's much easier for people, it could be easily misunderstood by people if they only meditate on the picture. Because they forget, because everybody is greedy. They want all clear. Because you imagine when you can meditate the person's face and come out so clear, it's much clearer than your naked eye. You feel really powerful. And then, in other words, you forget actually the main purpose of the loving kindness is to maintain this sort of mind. And that kind of power become their own craving. It's better than other craving anyway. Sometimes you say this is still craving, but I'm not here to compare the other craving, but at least it's become that way. So, and it become almost like, I guess sometimes it is also the way you emphasize, because if you emphasize this technique as a means, or as you could say the means as an end. If it as a mean, if the pictures come along, and with the picture when you meditate so well, and then you could just have a jhana, and then you can abandon it. Oh, I have done my job. This is as a mean. This is what I did in the past. But then I never thought I can use it in my life. And then I suffer a lot. Why? I suffer a lot because I'm not enlightened yet, I'm this, I'm that, I hate people, they don't agree with me, I hate this, I hate that. Anyway, and I hate this place because it's not quiet enough, it's not good enough, all this kind of thing. But when I say as a mean as an end, some other technique you could always argue is that just as a mean, but some technique like this, certainly from Buddhist ethical understanding, this should be as a means and also can be as an end, because the Buddha said very clearly, if you are well fulfilling the four foundations of mindfulness, not this technique, the other technique, four foundations of mindfulness, you are supposed to have a very good, at least loving kindness mind and compassionate mind. There's no way that if you say that I'm good and four foundations of mindfulness, but I can be very evil and the mind is really, how to say, not compassionate and not love. That's not possible. So that's why some other you could say, I don't care about my breath, because that's as a mean, right? But it cannot be as an end, that's fine, because you could live without a breath. I mean, of course, not as a human. It's believed that. But this, in Buddhist ethical, no. Definitely, even at the end, you become a Buddha, become anybody, or like the good person, so-called. These four kind of minds should be there. So that's why, because of that, I more emphasis on the later part, and especially when I grow older. When you're younger, you only say, I want to get this, that's enough. Now the older you start to value, actually, that is not the life. You want to get what you want only, all the anyway, okay. No, any other question? There's another question there. I was waiting, people asking, yes. Yeah.
I don't think I'm asking the question.
Yeah, you can comment.
You're just waiting for us to ask, but I'll try a question of my own. And a question of my own is that I was looking at the stages of insight meditation.
Oh, wow, okay. And?
Oh, are we getting closer?
That's next chapter. Next line. Actually.
I don't know whether this year we can finish that, but I will try to finish it, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
anyway, there was a movie, and Gandhi in it was trying to figure out what they could do to get the British to go away. And he sat and meditated for days until he came up with the idea to spin yarn to go back to weaving and all those textiles that India used to produce. Is that the kind of thing that can come out of insight meditation, where you try to get to, here in the book it was saying trying to get to the, what did they say? Basically to the crux of the problem, and so you can see it for what it is, and then
of course, I would not answer that yes and no, because I think that's because the subject matter is different now, right? We are talking, since you're quoting the historical thing about Gandhi, I don't know whether that yes or no, but to be putting more conservative. I don't mean that's not necessarily, it doesn't apply to what your question, but I say just for the more conservative way of explaining, the insight meditation, the main purpose of insight meditation actually is to ultimately to see that we still have craving. So, and then you could, that's ultimate, you're able to really recognize the craving, how they trigger our karma. Yeah. So that you could able to, by seeing the craving, and then that, and not only just seeing the craving, seeing craving is one part. The other part is seeing that actually there's possibility that so-called almost like the eternal kind of peaceful there. So that's why your mind will start to learn to choose what's best for your life. That whether abandon the craving and follow this peaceful mind or not, like that. That's why then someone get insight from that perspective. But I'm not here to saying that when you have this kind of quality of wisdom, that it would not help in you. It might help in you, but certainly this is not directly addressed to the Buddhist text, okay, or the practice. Yes.
So when you were saying that, like when we do insight meditation for a while,
why we should have a continuous insight? Because we are still having. You just come late. I was just saying that we just. Still talking about Brahma Vihara. It's okay. Ask your question first. It might, if we can discuss later. If that I think is too long to explain. Yes.
Okay. So you're saying if you do insight meditation for a while, like you actually would have a you can have a loving kindness mind? Does
No, maybe best to rephrase it this way. When you able to see the wholesome mind, or when you're able to continue the wholesome mind, of course, these four quality mind should be there. I wouldn't say should be there, I mean it stay all the time. It means it could easily arise for you. But when you have a so-called a good person, become a wholesome mind, certainly when you feel people happy, you don't jealous. You're just happy for them, right? Like that. So when you see people are suffering, you have a compassion. You don't think you deserve that. You do not think that way. So that's mean, because it's supposedly if you are practicing the four, according to the Buddhist text, when your four fountains of mindfulness are so good, that this kind of quality mind should be there.
And the four foundations.
When I say should be there, means should be easy. Maybe put it more precise. Should be when this object is proper for you, then you come up in a wholesome mind. That means when you see people, you just wish people to be best in their life, like that, right?
Right. Does that only happen when you achieve a certain level with like?
No, I wouldn't say level, but maybe because I believe that even people who have attained a first level of Zenhood, it doesn't mean that the person, yes, he had gone through the whole. This is the next chapter. If he had gone through the whole stages, and then they become the Zen, like the first level of Zenhood, but it doesn't mean that he always carry this kind of mind. That's a difference between the Arahant and the Buddha, because they don't have any object will trigger their problem. Right? Say that even he's the first level Zenhood, he still may have a jealousy, they still may have anger and so forth. That's according to the list of the definement still stay for the Zen, the first level. And until the people got to the third level Zenhood, then the anger is almost gone. Otherwise, the first level Zenhood and second level Zenhood, they still get anger. But let me say that the anger, I don't mean they were really anger in the way they really always shout to people, never. But you could see their mind sometimes still feel not stable. They're not happy. Yeah. That's very clear if you are in the third level Zenhood. There's no way you can almost like. He had very deep one, very small. You can, as normal people are, cannot see it. That person will never get angry, almost like. Never. He only feels shy and shame when you say you're doing something wrong. He just feel like that. He do not like feel anger. No.
So if you just do insight meditation without achieving any level of sainthood, the loving kindness mind wouldn't be so easily.
No. That's another thing. Let's say the person always value the nice about the family and happiness. He know how to keep the mind always being joyful and thinking in a positive way. That he could be he doesn't have to be a Zen. He can believe maybe even happier actual way of looking. Maybe this is my understanding. If a person really say that he practices for Brahma Vihara, not necessarily because of Buddhism, but he just understands this is important in their life and he always keep it this way and even though he have no jhana, maybe even he doesn't know, whatever. I want to say that, or because of past life, he is always like that already. So, no, he can be a very happy. You don't judge by that, no. That's a different thing. In other words, some people, they don't know. When they see maybe a very happy person and the other one is maybe not necessarily, sometimes get a little angry, but he's not bad person. Just, he could be a Zen, but that is not a Zen. That another person is always happy. It's not. No, don't do it. No, it's not, that's not the way. It's almost like the wisdom part. When a person is really talented with wisdom, let's say he really know the book very well and all sort of thing, he can be sometimes not happy, but of course he always be a good person, try to be good. Even they make mistake, he tell people, I'm sorry I make that mistake. The other people maybe didn't learn any book, he could be just really, but he still doesn't have the wisdom. Okay. But of course the wisdom has to carry the morality as well. You cannot say, oh, because he has wisdom, so he can kill people, he can hate people, he can set people up, you know. No, of course he doesn't, you know. Okay, there was a bottom line there. Okay.
I've got a question for you. You were really trying to get us to ask questions. The question.
Or comment also.
Right, right. Well, basically, I'm asking you to give us a hint. Specifically, I want to know, you've done this before where you say, okay, we've just read the text, now what is your question? And there is no question. So, but then you say, well, what's the question? And so my question is that how can we read the text to get to the substance of what we should be questioning? Does that make
Maybe
sense?
true. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I certainly I thought because maybe certainly it's I'm still. I mean, there was a few reasons. One reason I thought there was one question I think is a little important, but maybe not the other. That's why people don't recognize that. So I hope that people keep on digging out and see whether the question comes up. And the other question is, of course, some people ask that whether this lead to enlightenment or not. That is actually one of the interesting questions. But for example, if I don't encourage, maybe people don't ask that. Another thing is I like people asking questions, not this question, to comment, because I don't want people just read the book, just read it, because I guess sometimes we always remember it's not what you read, it's what you ask and what people talking about. I think so. I'm not sure it's true, you know. And the book, you can always go back and read it again, you know. Yeah.
I think when I come to the text, I don't have much of a background or any sort of context to bring to it. You know, compared to people who have lived in the culture where it's prevalent and pervasive, and so I have to take it at its face value, I think.
Well, but don't think that way. Sometimes actually when the people don't have that kind of culture, what you say, and their background, they may ask better questions, because a lot of things that we assume, people who have that kind of background, we always assume the thing. You know, like if that's how I assume people know all the time. And then I surprised when I was in Taiwan that people ask me, what is this meaning of this word? And I think, it's equality. And then they say, no, but I saw other book. And they bring me the book, say they explain it different way. I say, okay, you know, like this is even what part of my assume as well. Okay. Yeah. So, but I mean, when people don't have that, when you look at the face value, sometimes it could become a better meaning than the people who know. Yeah, do not think it that way, okay. All right, the other question actually, if you don't, since we have a little break, and I will just, we can have a little early break now, because we come to the next chapter, it's a little bit complicated. We have you have a little break. And then, actually I was talking, maybe people, if they ask the question, why they have two names, is called immeasurable, and the other is called the divine abidings. But people don't ask that question. Yeah.
That's a good question.
Everybody got it but me.
No, nobody got it.
No, everybody said, oh. I didn't even, I'm like.
For example, in Chinese, generally.
Well, could we just start with your statement again? Because maybe I just zoned out.
No, I said that it's because in Buddhism, since still the Buddhism are still retain the text, we have the commentary, but an original, what we call the sutta, is original from oral transmission. The oral transmission actually, it's unlike other religions, they compile later, but we still retain the oral translation and been put in the word. This is there's a lot of proof to know, because they have a rhythm, the pattern, and so forth. In other words, even in that kind of oral transmission, but you do find sometimes in certain contexts they use a name called immeasurable. They say, oh, when you finish this, you are practicing your immeasurable. Sometimes we use a name called the divine abidings. They should have the reason why that technique, it looks like the same technique, but actually they are given in the two different names. Yeah.
Does it have to do with the audience? Like if it's a lay people, maybe they call it divine abiding more?
No. But of course you could prove that it's maybe due to the audience. But actually the main reason is because the divine abiding, sometimes it calls divine abiding, because the word you call Brahma Vihara, if you want to translate in the modern way or for the Westerner, or so-called English culture, maybe best to say living like a god. Okay. So that's, sometimes this technique is called living like a god. So it's definitely, I don't mean because just an audience reason. Is certainly, you could argue that, as I say, because people who are wanted to live like a god, even they are not born in heaven yet, so that's the technique. It's for that. And of course, the technique say very clearly, because if you practice this technique, since Buddhism do not believe in a way of other religion, thing like a monistic religions, saying that the God will save you in such a way. But Buddhism believes in karma and also believe in cosmology, right? And then, of course, if we want to born in the godlike place, then you actually need to have this good karma now, so that when you're about to pass away, the same karma will bring you to that, because you carry the same karma, right? So that's the reason why the divine abiding is been Brahma Vihara. Of course, there's a lot of reasons. I just say simply the term is been. It's why the name is been put it this way. But why sometimes it's called immeasurable, especially in Chinese, 叫无量心嘛，是无量心. So because then when you say about they are become the immeasurable, in technique why for the sake of technique, is because actually you practice not just simply because of having meditation on each person, but certainly for sure you are very good at meditating on many people, meditate with many people, even up to the point that your mind have a really close association with each and one beings. So you could say in terms of the how to say the number of the beings are countless. That's why it's called immeasurable. And your mind is countlessly powerful, because everything you contact with, your mind immediately your mind you associate your mind to them with these four kind of mind. That's why it's called immeasurable. Then of course that's why they have two kind of name given. And there are much more. I don't want to explain that. But simply at least know this few. If there's examination, remember that. I'm joking. You don't have examination, but. All right, take a little break and be back here if you can, 5 minutes or otherwise 10 minutes. So I will see you in later.